Chapter 4. 7 Felka Utsa. As I walked to work the next day, Tuesday, I planned my evening. I had decided that last night the man had come out of the building at about 5 to 7. I had just been in time to see the start of the 7 o'clock news on television in the wine bar, and only a few minutes had passed between him knocking me over and the news. I wanted to go back there that evening at the same time. The day seemed to take a long time to pass. At work, I had the meeting with Peter to talk about the difficulty of the day before. We talked about our problems and came to a friendly agreement. I had lunch in the office restaurant, as usual, but didn't say more than a few words to anyone. In fact, during the day, 2 or 3 people asked me if I was feeling ill. I said that I was fine, just thinking about a difficult work problem. That evening, I left the office at 6 o'clock. I walked quickly to the street where I'd first seen the man. Soon I found the door. It was number 7, Felka Utsa. While I waited, I looked at the street carefully. It was short and dark, and there was still a lot of snow around from yesterday. On either side of the street were blocks of flats, which had been built in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Most of them were dirty and in bad condition. On many of them, you could still see the holes the gunshots had made during the fighting in World War II or the 1956 Revolution. The blocks were all 5 floors high, with big front doors. At this time on a winter evening, only 1 or 2 kitchen windows were lit as people made their evening meals. I waited, walking slowly up and down. It was cold. I felt a bit like a private detective in an American film. A few people walked along the street, but mainly it was as quiet as it had been the night before. As the time got near, I stood opposite the entrance to number 7, with the wall behind my back. Nothing happened. At 7 o'clock, a woman with a small dog came along the street and went in through the door. But then there was nothing to see. And there was certainly nobody like myself there. I went over to the door of number 7 and looked at the names beside the bells for each flat. I don't know what I expected to find, but there were just the usual Hungarian family names and a couple of small companies that had offices on the ground floor of the building. Then I walked to the bar where I'd gone the night before. I walked along Felka Utsa, crossed the road, and went into Gerge Utsa. I found the bar and went down the steps and into the smoky room. I ordered a red wine. The barman looked at me. "Did you find your friend, then?" he asked. I was surprised. I'm sorry," I replied, coughing into my wine. "The man you were looking for last night," he said. "Did you find him?" "No, I'm afraid I didn't," I answered. "That's why I'm here, really. I was hoping I might see him tonight." "What's he like, then, this friend of yours?" asked the barman. "Well, he's... I stopped. The barman looked at me, waiting. "He looks very much like me, actually." "I can't say that I've seen anyone like you here," he said. "But then, I only bought the place 6 weeks ago, so I don't really know everyone who comes in here yet. Just the usual people who are in here now." A man came up to the bar, and I moved away, watching the end of the news on the television and drinking my wine. I looked at the people in the room. They all looked just like those I'd seen the night before. But there was no one like me. I decided to leave. When I got home, I was pleased to find a note from Andrea on the kitchen table. It said that she was out teaching a new student, so I didn't have to make up any more stories about where I'd been. That night, I had a strange dream. In my dream, I heard the noise of a door shutting loudly. I was running out of a building, and I ran into someone. A man. He fell down. I turned to say sorry. I saw that it was me lying on the ground. I woke up feeling afraid and cold in the dark, although the bedroom was nice and warm. The strange thing was that it was as if the dream had changed everything round. Because in the dream, it was me who ran out of the building, not the man. And when I looked at the man on the ground, it was myself. Suddenly, Andrea woke up. "What's the matter, love?" she asked sleepily, turning on the light. I couldn't speak at first. She sat up and looked at me. "You look bad," she said. She sounded worried. "Do you feel ill?" "No," I started. "No, it was just a dream." "Poor darling," she said, holding my head and kissing me on the cheek. "Come on, let's try and get some sleep." I lay down again. She turned off the light and soon went back to sleep. But I lay there in bed, looking at the 4 walls in the dark, watching the dream over and over again in the cinema inside my head. I felt afraid, but I didn't really understand what it was that I was afraid of.